this session here. My name is Cassie Holmes, and I'm going to just tell you a little bit about our team. So these are all of your presenters that will be talking today. I'm going to ask them all to present themselves as they talk on different slides, and also as they walk you through some interactive things we're going to be doing. You have staff and faculty from Valencia College and Polk State College on today. And we are part of a consortium of community colleges, which also includes the College of Central Florida and Daytona State College. And collectively, we make up what we call the Central Florida STEM Alliance. And that is a program that's funded by the National Science Foundation through the Lewis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation program. And overarching, our goal really is to support underrepresented minority students in STEM, and specifically help students transfer from our institutions to earn a bachelor's degree in a STEM field. So we do lots of things, and one of the things that we do is really focus on storytelling and helping students find the power in their own story and the importance of hearing stories and also sharing their story as well. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to think about your story. We're going to kick it right off with a interactive components, and I'm going to put a link in the chat, and I'm going to ask you to write. You should be able to click that link, and I'm going to ask you to think about some words that come to mind when you think of your own STEM story thus far. So your own journey as a student in STEM, what comes to mind? And there's no wrong answers. It is completely anonymous as well. And I'm gonna also simultaneously share my screen so we can see the answers in real time. So hopefully you can see this as well. Stressed. Hardcore. All right, so I'm seeing some similarities here. I'm going to move some things around. As you're talking, and of course you can always put things in the chat as well. Tough, lots of work, struggling. So any positive things thus far? I see exciting but challenging.
Yeah, I saw rewarding also.
Rewarding.
Lucky.
A roller coaster trip. How about, is there surprising? Has anyone been surprised by their challenge or their journey thus far? Wandering?
Oh, I see. Math is harder to understand after not doing it for so long.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to move some things around so hopefully we can all see. Imposter syndrome. Yeah. Confusing.
Confusing, discovering self. Aimless.
I'd ask you to dig a little bit deeper. So these, you know, is there anything else when you really pause and think about your journey? Is there anything that you're proud of? Are there people who have inspired you? Just a couple more minutes here.
Cassie, they're asking you to repost the link for people who just joined.
Got it.
I just
Vanessa
did.
Put it in. Thank you, Vanessa.
Yep.
How do you type? So at the bottom, there's a little plus sign. It's pink, and you should see it on the bottom right. So I'll give everyone another minute or so.
Supportive.
Has anyone been unsupportive? Has anyone doubted you?
Okay, a professor. So what does that mean, a professor? A professor supported me. A professor was helpful.
So I hope what you've started to see in doing this is that there's a lot of similarities in some of your stories. So I saw a lot of things around it being stressful and tough, but also achievable, competitive. I think when you see the collectiveness of all of these things posted at once, you start to see, oh, other students are feeling this as well. You can also like the comments if you guys want. So I'll keep this up for maybe 30 more seconds. If anyone has said something like imposter or tough or math is hard or you appreciate your faculty, you can go ahead and like it so you can start to see, oh, other people think that too. So just take a minute, see if there's anything that resonates with you, stands out to you.
Yeah, and I see my high school teacher, I would not amount to anything. I see that.
Wow. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing this to go back to the other presentation, but you can go ahead and continue to write in it if you'd like, and we'll come back to it. So now I'm going to pass it to Damika Sanders, who's just going to explain a little bit about what we mean when we say storytelling.
So hello all again. Yeah, so my name is Damika Sanders. I am implementation coordinator for our LSAMP program over at Valencia College here in Orlando, Florida. And you know, so again, like we've just started looking at some of these words, but really, you know, as we began looking at what this storytelling is, it is your own personal reflection and an acknowledgement to, you know, where you are at, like where you're at right now, you know. So in that case, you know, by sharing, you know, different stories, insights, knowledge of your own experiences, those are all things that, you know, like give you the ability to be able to relate and connect with other individuals. So, you know, even on some of those words that were shared, right, that were written on there. So, you know, inspiring, like a roller coaster, people agree. Lucky, you know, my high school teacher told me I wouldn't amount to anything. There are others that have had that experience as well. So by sharing and, you know, relating, it gives you a place to connect with people or even understand something that's different from your own experience. So really, you are the expert of your own story, and it is a story that's worth sharing. Okay, so right now, you know, wherever it is that you're at, so as a community college student, where, you know, it's like I'm in my freshman year or my sophomore or wherever that you are, like where you're at right now, it's you are the expert of that story and it's still ongoing. So it is a story that's in progress.
Thank you, Damika. So I'm just going to talk very quickly about why this is important, or we feel it's important to tell your story and also just embrace storytelling in STEM. You all probably know this as students, but there is sort of this dominant perception of, you know, who is a scientist, right? And if we don't share our own stories and hear the stories of others, that perception won't change, right? So we think historically, right, there's been experiments that ask students to draw a scientist, and they usually draw an older white man. And that's changed actually recently. It's becoming increasingly more popular for little kids to draw all kinds of people that they see as scientists and doctors, which is fantastic. But there are still stories and perspectives that are being overlooked. So it's important to think about who's being overlooked, and how can we be inspired and connected through storytelling and through sharing about ourselves, even if it makes us a little bit vulnerable. Of course, sharing diverse perspectives in general helps foster community. So when we were liking each other's posts, we were realizing, oh, that person said something that actually happened to me. So it is inspiring and also helps connect you. It also helps challenge misconceptions and biases. When you share your story as a student now, as Damika said, your story is important currently, no matter where you are in the process of your academic journey. Even if you've stopped, you know, school and are returning, or if you're working 10 jobs, or you're going and only taking one class, whatever it may be, your story is critically important because it's unique to you, and there's probably more students just like you who have similar situations. So when you share your story, not only are you making connections with each other, but you're also building your own confidence and feeling proud of how far you've come. In addition, we focus a lot on research and how to present, in a very formal poster setting, which is of course critically important, but there are soft skills around empathy and listening and communicating that come with talking about yourself that are important to your overall science communication and presentation skills. And I'm going to ask John Finn from Polk State if he has anything he'd like to add as well. John, I saw you. Are you muted? We're having technical difficulties, so I will come back to him.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Finn, and I'm the STEM program coordinator here at Polk State College. As Cassie said, it's very important to know why you need to share your story. First of all, I believe most of us on this conference are URMs, which means we are underrepresented minorities in STEM. One of the things that happens in our environment is that, first of all, we all feel like we're outsiders in an environment that was designed by and for the majority. It wasn't designed for us, right? So basically, sharing your story puts a spotlight on things like cultural issues, right? It even goes much more to say things like how even pedagogy of the faculty, right? Does your faculty member know you? Do they know you by name or just a student ID? Right? Do they understand the person that you are? The person that is teaching you, does she really know you? Your faculty, do they really know you? Have they factored you into creating their curriculum? Are you reading textbooks that does not reflect you? Are the pictures in textbooks just if like you're doing anatomy or something and all the pictures in there just reflect white people and you're Hispanic or you're Black? Are they showing a picture of rashes on a Black person? Those are some of the things that by you sharing your story or getting to know people within your environment, it would help you because it makes you get a sense of confidence, and it also builds the confidence that you need to be able to succeed as a student. You have to remember that we have more things in common than we have differences. So that is something that is very important to share your story as a student. Most of the time, who are these people that are overlooked? Whose stories are being overlooked? And it's us, the URMs. Thank you.
So next we're going to do another interactive example of how you can share your story. So we worked a little bit with words, and now we're going to look at numbers as a way to tell your story. And I'm going to ask Vanessa Lopez to please lead us through this.
Hi everyone, I'm Vanessa and I am a STEM transfer program advisor at Valencia College in Orlando, Florida. And I want to walk you through this activity. Like Cassie said, we're going to shift over to using our numbers. I think when we ask students to share their stories, a lot of times students automatically feel as though we're asking for a very in-depth, dramatic, memoir on your life and all like the sacrifices, which can be an important part, absolutely. But if you first meet an individual, you don't want to just start opening up right away. So this is an activity to hopefully tie in something that's maybe a little lighter with a little more like light personal, but still keeping it relevant to your story. So what I want you to do is I'm going to time it. I'm going to give you about 1 minute, and I'm going to ask you to pick 3 numbers that relate to you in some way. And so what I mean by that is, for example, my code, my number would be 7, 2, and 5. So 7 would represent July because I was born in July. So, what's up, Cancers? 2 is how many pets I have. So I have a dog and a cat. And then 5 is how long I've been an advisor at Valencia College. So you can pick any number. If you can't think of 3, come up with 1, come up with 2 numbers. And what I want to see is in the chat, utilizing the chat feature, go ahead and type in your code, your number. And then It can be, Victoria, very good question. It can be the same number multiple times as long as you can describe what it is, which I won't pick on every single person, but I'll pick at random a couple of you to share out your numbers. So keep it something that is shareable. All right. So I'm going to give you 1 minute and start typing out your code. All right, I'm starting to see some numbers coming in. We have about 30 more seconds. I'm always surprised as to how difficult this can be for some people because you just feel like, well, I don't have anything that really represents me. It's like, well, you're born, so you can choose that as your default. Great, a few more seconds. And let me stop my, there. All right, so hopefully you guys heard my, all right. Thank you, Cassie. So if anybody wants to volunteer to share out, go ahead and use the reactions button to raise your hand or, you know, do a little thumbs up or something. And then if Cassie, John, Damika, if you guys can keep an eye out to see who has volunteered. I see Victoria. Victoria, you can go ahead and unmute unless you're a really quick typer. But what did your numbers represent?
Okay, so I said that I got 3 6s, but not in the like bad way, I promise.
It's okay.
I promise. It's that 6 is the June. June is when I was born. 6 because I'm the 6th child of my family, and 6 because my initials is actually a Roman numeral 6, so VI. So I just
That's
thought
great.
those numbers were really like relatable to me.
That's awesome. See,
Yeah.
easy to share, easy to remember. When you get caught up in a panic, you could literally like play this game with someone, and it's
Right. It's a cool like icebreaker.
you know, icebreaker. Yeah. Thank you. Jared, I see your hand is up. What are your numbers and what do they represent?
Okay, so 1 is from I played baseball for 10 years, and I always pick number 1 because I wanted to be number 1 on my team.
That's great.
5 because I love 5 because it's I am a physics major, so I like to, and the number 5 is my prettiest one that I always put on my math. And 4 is my greatest achievement in life is when I was a drum major and I placed 4th place in a competition. So that was why I have the number 4.
Like drum major in a marching band?
Yes.
I was in marching band, so yes, I could.
That's awesome.
I love that. All right, we'll take a few more because I'm not sure how we're doing on time, Cassie. So, okay, great. Thank you for sharing, Jared. Leslie, I see your hand is up. If you can unmute and share your numbers and what they represent.
Hi, everyone. My name is Leslie. My numbers are 14, 3, and 21. So 14 because that was my basketball jersey number and also the number that I wore for lacrosse when I played a little bit at Cal State Fullerton. And then 3 because I'm a 3rd year in college. And then 21 because my birthday is December 21st and then my dad's birthday is January 21st. But it's important to me because we're not that close. So it's kind of weird that our birthdays land on the same day.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. And then we'll take Rudy and go ahead and unmute and let me know. And we might have time for Brandon after. I think those are the only 2 remaining. So hopefully we have time for both of you. So Rudy, number and what they represent.
So my number was 169, and I kind of put like 1 and 6 together because 16 is like how long I've lived in the house that I'm in, and also it's how old this little guy is.
Oh, so cute.
Yeah. And then a 9 was because like when we first got him, he was 9 months.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's all about my dog.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
great. Thank you for sharing, Rudy. And then Brandon, we'll close out this activity with you. Brandon, go ahead and unmute. What are your numbers, and then what do they represent?
Yeah, so, oh, sorry, video. There we go. So I meant to put 10, but it's 10, 47, and 4. So 10 is for about the amount of years I spent in the military. 47 is for the amount of pets I have. And 4 is for the amount of kids I have.
4 is great for kids. Like, congrats. 47? Did I hear that right?
Yeah, well, to be fair, 40 of them are koi fish.
Okay, okay, because I was like, what kind of house do you live in? Well,
Yeah,
okay,
I built a
40.
pond in the backyard, and I bought about 40 outdoor
I love
fish.
that. I love it.
And they might be more now, but yeah. And then it's 2 turtles, 1 desert tortoise, a dog, and 2 cats.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so that was that activity, and it just goes to show you that everyone can have a story, even if you feel like, well, that's not a big deal, like I'm just gonna let you know when I was born, whatever, but that can spark a further conversation, like Brandon buzzing out with 47 pets, like all of a sudden we can all just start chatting about that, and it just leads to this natural networking type of exercise. So don't be ever shy about your story. It could be as simple as that or as complicated as you want it to be. Thanks, Cassie.
So next up, we're going to talk a little bit about how to seek out stories from others, and John Finn is going to share some examples.
So I'm sure you've all heard about us talking, oh, tell your story, tell your story. We've done all these activities, and you're asking yourself, oh, it's easier said than done, right? But one of the things is you as students can share your stories. First of all, you have to create a space where you can share those stories. And here at Central Florida STEM Alliance, what we do is Polk State has a STEM club, which is very vibrant for our students. And during STEM club meetings, our students are able to share their stories. What we try to do is every STEM club meeting, we have one student that would tell us something that either a study habit or something that is beneficial to them. So students then tend to build friendship and create and foster great friendships among themselves by sharing their stories. And most of the time, students then find out that, oh, we have a lot in common, and they build that friendship that lasts a lifelong. The other thing is the biggest challenge is how do you get your professors that are teaching you in class, how do you get your calculus professor to share his story? That is like something that would be a daunting task for you to do, right? But these professors are just like you. Here at Central Florida Alliance as well, what we do is we have a summer STEM institute where we do have first generation college bound students, like faculty and staff, share their stories with students just like themselves. Also faculty, we try to engage faculty in activities outside the classroom. So let's say students are having an activity outside. They'll invite faculty to come out. You invite your chemistry professor to come out. And you'll be surprised that when you walk as a student into a professor's office, knock on the door and tell them, oh, I'm inviting you into to this activity that students are having at the student center. First of all, they'll be surprised. But secondly, they would take upon that opportunity to go because they'll be like, okay, this student has thought of me and has invited me, so I don't want to disappoint them. And whilst you're there, you can build that relationship outside of the classroom where you'll be able to talk to them. So it sort of engages the faculty as well. Some other things that you can do is when you go for these conferences, like even being at SACNAS and you're presenting, you have people that would come and talk to you. And even if you're not presenting at the conference, you meet other people, faculty, staff, you meet your peers, and you can talk to them. You can share stories, you can discuss things. And then you can even go online and listen to TED Talks, right? There are a lot of TED Talks on STEM storytelling. You can create a page on your school's website. Just ask them that, oh, can I create a page where STEM students can share their stories? That will be a form of encouragement for other students and as well as faculty, because you can create a page where we're going to have faculty and staff also posting their stories, how they struggled with maybe calculus 1, or how they passed chemistry, you know, with bringing you different ideas. You can also have the STEM speakers that come to your colleges. We have STEM speaker series here at Polk State where different people within the industry come and talk to our students. And during that time, they might tell a story that may relate to you, and immediately after, don't be shy, approach them, talk to them, tell them that, oh, you know what, I have a similar story. Someone is going to remember you by you sharing your story with them because it was a similar story, right? So one of the things that STEM students have to do is you're in an environment where you feel like you're alone, especially as a URM. Even your mentors, the mentors don't know you that well, right? Even because most of the mentors in STEM are not like you. They don't look like you because we're now building that increase. So the mentors are going to be the same white male professors, Caucasians, and how would they know your story and how would they be able to help you? Some of them will say, oh, I've been a mentor for 40 years. That does not mean they can mentor a Black person or they can mentor a Spanish person, right? They have to learn your culture. But how they learn your culture, you have to introduce them into the culture. You have to tell your story. You have to tell them some of the things that you face or some of the things that you fear. You have to foster that conversation. You have to build that conversation with them. You have to let them know that I'm vulnerable in a situation that they can also be vulnerable. Most of the time, the people that don't look like you, they don't share your same background, right? One thing that mentors and faculty need to do, right, is for them not to be afraid to share their own vulnerabilities. That is the biggest challenge in storytelling. Nobody wants to let their guard down. But by sharing our stories, we break down those preconceived barriers, the notions that the STEM culture is ingrained in. And it opens up for us to share our experiences as well as our personal stories. And that is really the first step for sharing your stories, just to get to build that trust. Take people out of their comfort zone, take them outside of the environment of the classroom. In places like there's a basketball game going on. Can you go with us to watch the game? At the basketball game, nobody's sitting down like you're in a calculus class, right? You're screaming. The next thing you see, your calculus professor that is very stern in class is all of a sudden shouting and raising his hand up because he's cheering for the team. He would have let his guard down, right? That is the time that you start asking questions. By the time he realizes you've already said he said a lot of things to you that he would never have said in class. And that is where the relationship building starts. And that makes you feel like you actually do belong in the environment of STEM. Because one of the biggest challenges that URMs face is we feel we do not belong. But by telling your stories and sharing your experiences, it will be interesting for you to know that the faculty member that you most fear has the same vulnerabilities as you. And so let's keep sharing the stories and see how things go. All right. Thank you.
So I'm going to ask Arlene Willis from Valencia College to talk a little bit about her experience with students who have sought opportunities in different ways to share their own stories.
Hello, everyone. So John, he talked about why you would tell your stories, and there's lots of reasons, of course. And I've met so many students over the years, and it's amazing. So I meet a lot of students, and sometimes they come in my office and I didn't think they had a tongue. But once they got in there and they met other students and they was able to hear the students and how the students would open up and sharing stories, they became very comfortable. But there's many ways that you can share your story. Right now in this pandemic, I know you have many, many stories to tell. And one of the ways you can share your story is through social media. Our students have shared their stories by way of video. I don't know if we'll have an opportunity to see any of that, but by way of creating their own video. It's amazing how they didn't think that they can create some of those videos until, or anything to tell their stories until they was really put on the fire. And then they said, I really, really, really think I can do it. And they did it. So I think that's one of the ways you can share your stories, through video. Instagram. I mean, we're right now in a pandemic, so we're social distancing, but like right now, ordinarily we would be at SACNAS conference, but we're not, we're here. So ways that you can get out more than any way is to have your Instagram page set up. A lot of the younger people, my kids tell me I'm dated. They don't use Facebook. So I think that just sharing your stories, the more you share your stories and give it away, the more you become more comfortable, the more you allow people who may be shy to open up and talk about uncomfortable things that maybe, you know, otherwise they wouldn't have shared if you didn't share your stories. Um, Elevator speeches, that's a way to share your story. You know, short and sweet and to the point, you know, that gets people a lot of places just by saying who they are. And I tell you, talking about yourself is very uncomfortable. But I always like to say, if you don't talk about yourself, someone certainly will. You might not like what they have to say about you. So I think it's very important that you look at different ways to come out of your shell. And for those of you who are more loquacious than others, you know, look and listen. Videotapes, look at, you know, TED Talks on how people share their stories. And lots of conversations come out of just saying a couple of things, and then next thing you know, you tell your stories, the ball just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling. So I think that over the years, I've had great students tell great stories by many ways through research, poster sharing, and video making. So think of creative ways, be creative, and just start writing, just start talking, look at yourself in the mirror. You know, create your story in the shower so that, you know, when you come out and you meet people, there's various ways that you can share. So good luck, and I know you can do it.
Thank you, Arlene. I think Arlene touched on a really important point about all the different ways that you can do something, and also reiterating that your story is different elements of you, and it could be something you're interested in. So one thing you might consider doing is there a topic beyond just, you know, your STEM major, maybe just something in your life that you're interested in, like coding or the connections between music and math. You know, you could go to student development or go to a faculty member and see if you could facilitate some sort of online workshop on that topic. These are things that we encourage our students to do. If you're interested in something, you have the opportunity to present it to your fellow peers. Next up, I'm going to ask Professor Larry Young to walk us through an example of how you can share your story through pictures. Larry, I think
Sorry,
you're
you need to
muted.
mute.
Technology stuff. Sorry about that. Again, my name is Larry Young. I'm a professor of biology here at Polk State College and part of the LSAMP team that is presenting with you guys today. I teach anatomy and physiology as well as a course on the biology of sexuality and gender. And I do serve as a mentor for a lot of our students within the LSAMP program. I am, as John defined a little earlier, one of those white guys standing in front of the classroom, and but I think I bring a little bit different of a perspective, and I think storytelling has that ability to really draw out and make those personal connections. We're not all the same. We all have our own unique stories that we bring to the table. And I think one of the ways that we can grow closer is if we share those stories with one another. It's the only way we're going to break down the divides. It's the only way that we're going to really be able to start to come together as a nation and move forward for the betterment of everyone. One of the activities I do with my students is I have them storyboard. I have them create a comic strip, and I'll share the link with this to the site that I use for this with my students. But this is a little bit about my STEM journey along the ways. Back in the 90s when I was in community college, that's what my bio class looked like. I mean, it was very, as I like to say, monochromatic. The professor was an older white gentleman, and there was few females. There were quite a few males in the class, but there were not really many people of color represented within my biology courses, even throughout my entire undergraduate period. But at the community college level, I remember that one day I was called into my advisor's office, And I was told that I wasn't good enough to make it, that I didn't have the academic ability, I didn't have the aptitude to succeed within biology. I had gotten a couple C's in Bio 1 and Bio 2, and I was young. I don't think I was necessarily ready for that college environment. And I think that may have led to me tripping up along the way. But it was the way that he approached it. It was from the negative. There was no support there. There was nothing about asking about, what I had going on. There was nothing about asking about what resources I needed. It was, you're not good enough, so don't waste our time. And I think you need to find a new major. And I left his office that day. There in the middle frame, you can see I left defeated. I left angry. And I think from that point on, I resided to myself that I was going to make a difference, that I was not only going to show him that I could make it. And I actually went back and adjunct as a biology professor at that college and had a conversation with him about this. And he didn't even remember me, which I think was even added more insult to the injury there. But I came through. And I got my master's in biology. I'm teaching at the college level, and my classroom now is very diverse. When I look out, I don't see all monochromatic skin tone in my classes. I have Latinx, I have African American, I've got Caribbean, I've got, you name it, all represented within my classroom. I have DACA students, all represented within that classroom setting. And I strive on a daily basis to reach every single one of them. And so, being able to tell that story through pictures, I think is a powerful way in order to go ahead and engage the people that are around you. It's very non-threatening. You're looking at some pictures and then all of a sudden you start explaining this story and the power hits them. But you sucked them in with the imagery. And this is something that's very easy to share during a club meeting, you could just be sitting around with a bunch of friends, maybe a professor. You could share this on social media. We've plugged social media a few times. It's a non-threatening way that you can go ahead and you can get that story out, especially if you're not comfortable being vocal. And so I encourage you to do that and know that every single one of you has a support system and a support network. And it starts with your professors, it starts with your advisors, it starts with you, and we're here for you. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Larry. I played around with this and it's actually very fun. So next up, you've heard us from a faculty and staff perspective speak. And I think it's time for you to hear from students themselves. And we have Stephanie Hernandez, who's going to build a little bit off of this topic of sharing your story through pictures. Stephanie was in a program that we call the LSAMP Scholars Program and has completed research actually in several different settings and went through the process of creating a formal research poster. But then the second part of the program is around a student's professional development and peer relations. And at the end, you're asked to share your STEM story in any setting that you would like to. So Stephanie took a very fantastic and creative approach. Take it away, Stephanie.
I didn't hear that last part, Cassie.
I said you took a fantastic and creative approach to sharing your story, and take it away.
Yeah, okay. Hi everyone, as Cassie said, I'm Stephanie. I recently graduated from Valencia, and this whole journey has been a roller coaster. As she mentioned, I did do research, and I started off with an REU at LSU with their Center for Computation and Technology. And I went into that fresh out of my freshman year, so I hadn't even taken calculus. And that was a very steep learning curve, let me tell you. But it was really rewarding. It gave me some confidence. And in my comic, I actually did write about that. I don't know if yeah, there we go. So the slide on the left, I only picked 4 panels that I thought best represented my comic. And so because my research and the REUs were like a highlight of my STEM journey so far, that was definitely a panel that I wanted to pick. And I wanted to, and the reason why I picked a comic is because STEM hasn't been the only integral part of my life as a student, but also art. I've been drawing since as long as I can remember. And so also an easy way to convey stories has always been through visuals and comics and animations and stuff. And I was not going to animate. So as you can see, like I built a little self-balancing robot during my REU. I actually was able to present that poster at the poster presentations at LSU. I won 2nd place. And the reason why you see these random little butterflies is you will see the character that they're from in the comic in a couple slides, but that's self-doubt. I always struggled to balance out my mental health issues with my student life. So in the second slide that you see here, the darkness kind of like starts taking over that. It starts shadowing everything that I do, my passion for plants. I collect orchids. I actually have a very large collection of them. My pets, it kind of takes away from that. And my relationship and in the way that I can't enjoy it fully. And in school, because I struggle to, again, take away from that and balance that out. And sometimes, like, I connect with students in that way where we're struggling, and it's not just grades that affect that. It's, like there's a lot of stress and that starts to weigh down on you. You become anxious because you have scholarships to maintain, you have things that you have to do, you have to go beyond your academics in order to be able to, quote unquote, be a successful student, to look appealing to certain programs. And that really weighs down on me personally. And so again, like that self-doubt permeates, even though I feel like, or I know mentally I've achieved a lot through these activities. I still think, why am I here? I don't belong. Like, the other kids in this program are better than me. They're smarter than me. They've done so much more than me. So I downplay my own achievements when I do that. And that's why I put those butterflies there. And then the darkness starts to kind of slowly cover everything else. Next slide, please. And so, like, the things that I struggle with the most, like I had to think of the villains for my comic. And so what better things than those mental issues that I struggle with? Imposter syndrome, I know some people mentioned them earlier, self-doubt, anxiety and stress, procrastination, and depression. And those are like some of the major things that I feel I fight through every day of my life. But also, I guess drawing this out really helped me realize that, first of all, I wasn't alone through this journey, and I shared my story with other people throughout this journey, and a lot of people connected with me and I connected with them, and I still talk to a lot of these people. And definitely the LSAT program at school with Cassie and Damika and Vanessa have always been like a huge support group for me for that. And when they gave me this platform, I was like, well, definitely a comic, because it's easier for people to see it and it's my element. I draw a lot. So yeah, so that's basically the representation of all those things that I see and feel and go through. And then on the right hand side, I know it sounds a little cheesy, but I forget that I have this warrior inside me that can fight all these things and stand up to these things, and I have to remind myself she's there. And I just wanted to put her on a page and be like, look, she's there, she's real. And sometimes I have to tell her what's going on so we can fight this together, kind of thing. But you know, in the end, we fight the good fight, we get through it, and we keep going. And we, you know, sometimes we'll take a step forward and a couple steps back, but again, slowly we keep moving forward. And I just have to remember the achievements that I go through every day, and to remind myself that it doesn't have to just be about the big victories, it can also be the little ones. So that's what I wanted to present with this comic, and I really feel that I did portray that in it, and I'm really happy that I was given the opportunity to do so. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Next up, we have Frances Carter from Polk State College, who's going to talk a little bit about the process of sharing her story and the presentation she did as part of the LSM program as well.
Hello guys, I'm Frances Carter. I go to Polk State College. I'm currently president of STEM Club. I joined Polk State, and when I joined the college, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what my strengths were. I didn't know what I was good at. I kind of came in with the mindset that I just want to make an A and go home and not get into any school activities or grow any bonds with people. I just wanted to go to school and home. But the first two teachers that I encountered were Miss Pringle Brown and Professor John Finn. And he was my first year seminar teacher. And one of the main things that he brought out of me was he taught me how to network and communicate with other students. And he helped me realize that college isn't about getting an A, but it's about becoming a learner. So after I finished my first year seminar class, you know, I got a little more accustomed to the college environment. I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I still didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, what I wanted to be. And then he introduced me to the STEM Club. And when I first heard about the STEM Club, I was just like, I don't know, science, math, technology, engineering. I just don't think that would be the best fit for me. But going through different semesters and handling the different trials and issues that I had to face during showed me that I can excel in anything that I put my mind to. For example, as a kid, I liked biology. You know, I thought that was like, it was very great, hands-on. You know, I love biology. Like that's my favorite subject. And I thought that I wanted to try chemistry. I wanted to give chemistry a try. And as I was taking my chemistry class, it went terrible. Like, it went terrible. Like, I felt like I was not understanding. I didn't think I could do it. I basically felt defeated with my chemistry class. And so when we host our STEM meeting, we always have like a talk before our STEM meetings, asking us how we're doing academically or how we're doing mentally or whatever. And then we also encourage each other. So I know that there's several kids in the STEM club who's really good at chemistry or who's really good at biology or mathematics. Anything that I lack in, I know I can trust in my other STEM partners to be able to help me pull through what I need help with. So after I took my chemistry class, I felt kind of defeated, and I didn't want to let chemistry defeat me as a person, because I'm the type of person that I would like to keep trying until I can get it, understand, and comprehend it. So due to me being in the STEM club, I got a chance to do research. And out of all the professors at Polk State, I chose to do research with the chemistry professor, because I wanted to get more in depth, and I really wanted to grasp and understand chemistry. So by working with my chemistry professor and learning evaporation or how to do a proper hot bath or the recrystallization process, you know, going through step by step with me, kind of putting me out there so that I was able to learn. It really brought me a long way. So when I talk to my fellow STEM students or my fellow STEM students, not students, peers, excuse me, my peers, I always tell them like, don't give up or like count yourself out because you're not good at it at first. Like I wasn't good at chemistry at first, like it was terrible, but once you go and you look at it from a different perspective and you know, you try it a different way, I ended up really understanding and really liking chemistry. And I'm very thankful to be in the STEM club because it gave me a lot of opportunities to network. It brought me out of my shell because when I first came to college, I didn't really want to make friends. I didn't really want to talk to anybody. I kind of felt like outcasted, but I'm thankful that the STEM club, it like accepts you as you are. It accepts you as you are and it builds onto you as a person. And I just really appreciate it. And it also broadened my mind and my experiences to other different type of sciences, other different type of engineering, different type of mathematics. You know, I didn't know that I would had an interest in like energy. Like when Duke Energy came out to the school, they showed us different aspects. We went to their plant. I didn't know that I liked energy. So yeah, that's kind of my input on my college struggles. To sum everything up, that, you know, the struggles I went through with STEM or class-wise, or when I had trouble in math, I always could come back to the club with my problems and it always was solved through the club. Like we'll tutor each other, peer mentorship, talk to our advisor. We had each other to talk to. So it wasn't the fact that the specific people failed because we didn't allow each other to fail. If we had a struggle somewhere, we found somebody who could help us through that struggle. Wherever we was weak at, we had somebody else who can make us strong in that aspect. So
Thank you, Frances. I think Frances and Stephanie both showed or discussed really important things. One, Stephanie did a fantastic job of merging her interests in art and STEM, right? We are complex people, three-dimensional people that can like science and art and all kinds of things. And you may not know that about each other. So I've known Stephanie for many years now, but I didn't know until she wrote until she designed her comic book that she had an interest in art. And then the other thing I want to mention that Frances really brought to light is that it's important to find the people that support you, right? Find kind of that community that encourages you to share, because she was kind of uncomfortable in the beginning and then opened up and realized, oh, these people, you know, in STEM Club are similar to me, you know, we have similar struggles. So with that, I want to go back to the to the word cloud that we created earlier. And I tried to group them pretty quickly. And I want you to go back if you can, and maybe Vanessa or D'Amica, you could please drop the link in one more time. But if you can go back and sort of look and see that there are some similarities here. Several of you mentioned that it's difficult. This side is really focused on things being a bit challenging and having to remind yourself why you're doing this and feeling scared. There are less, I will say, honestly, on the more positive side, which is okay. You know, it's okay to acknowledge that you're more on this side of feeling like it's difficult and stressful. Also, several of you mentioned that yes, you have family that's supportive, but others of you mentioned that your family is not that supportive and is questioning why you're doing this. So down here, some of you have family that are against you being in college and, you know, saying that there's other things you should be doing, saying that they think you should quit. So if any of this, and look, this one has 7 likes. So that means you may be feeling like you're alone, whoever did this with this cat. But actually there's lots of people who are feeling like, yeah, me too. So part of it is finding others who you can relate to and connect with, because then your story, what you may think is weird or different or kind of, I don't know, unpleasant, or maybe people don't want to talk about it, that may be the very thing that people want to talk about. And you just need to put it out there, because then you'll see that, again, we're more similar in a lot of ways than we are different.
Hey, Cassie, I'm sorry. I guess the link that I shared wasn't working, so I don't know if you could just cut and paste, or if that was, I don't know.
I will put it in there now as we go to the last thing that we're going to talk about. So give me 1 second. All right. And the last is Vanessa is going to give you your homework for the weekend.
So you do have a little bit of homework, nothing too time consuming. This is going to be more on the social media side. I think more and more nowadays we're using social media, but specifically new emerging media as well. I don't know how many of you have a Twitter or an Instagram or even TikTok, but a lot of scientists and a lot of students in science are actually in all of these platforms. And specifically, I put 3 of these hashtags. I think it's important for you to, 1, clean up your social media if you have not, but 2, if you have a pretty great social media account, make it public, and then start posting things that you're proud of that you do. Like maybe you work in a lab or you volunteer in a lab. Maybe you're out in the community and doing science out in the community, and then start hashtagging everything. So for now, what your homework is to start following at least 1 or 2 scientists, whether they're still in school or whether they're already out in the field. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the chat, but it's also on the PowerPoint that you see there. But there's a couple that I really like, specifically that this is what a scientist looks like. You know, as Cassie had mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, the stereotype when we used to ask kids to draw what a scientist is was a white male. But now more so, people are drawing, like especially kids, they're drawing themselves or they're drawing someone that looks like them, which is fantastic because they're starting to envision themselves as scientists. If you do, this is what a scientist looks like, and you do a quick search, specifically on Instagram, you're gonna find a bunch of different students, different types of scientists, and go ahead and follow them. And start making sure that your social media accounts represent who you want to be professionally, or create a new one, keep your private one private, and then keep your professional student one public, so then other students can follow you, because you never know who you can inspire as well.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
With that, I'll just return quickly to the word screen we had here. Hopefully you all have access now. Just to remind you, again, 11 likes here with someone who can relate to the fact that your family doesn't always understand, what you're choosing to do. So I hope this has helped you feel connected, seeing these words here, and hopefully spark some ideas of ways you can tell your story, whether it be through pictures or words or numbers, certainly through music. We've had so many students do very creative things, speeches, poetry, all kinds of things you can do to share your story, and don't feel limited in what you can do, right? This is representative of you. We have a couple minutes, so if there's any questions, if you want to raise your hand, we're happy to take some questions. Otherwise, just going to say thank you so much. Oh, I realize I'm not sharing again, sorry. Just want to say thank you so much for your time. I hope that you thought this was valuable, and we really appreciated spending the time with you. Any questions? I see some hands raised.
I'm good, thank you.
But I think maybe it went down. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead, put them in the chat or raise your hand.
Question. Jared, you had a question. I see your hand is raised.
So slowly.
Yes, I do have a question. So within these stories, I just feel like it's hard for me to the right time for me to tell my story, whether it be appropriate or not appropriate to tell. It's just finding the timing, I feel like, because I feel like these students had a platform to tell their story, which is really inspiring. It's just that I feel like one of the everyday student going through their lives and having these troubles going through it, I'm just asking, when do you feel like it's necessary to tell your story?
That's a really good question. I think social media, so part of it is sharing your story to be proud of yourself, right? To feel, to kind of reflect. So Danica had the slide up earlier that said that part of storytelling is reflection. So it's thinking about your journey, whatever it may be, and reflecting on what you've learned, what's been challenging, what you've overcome. So in terms of sharing your own story, I think the time is now. The time is whenever you want to, in any way that you would like. So you could post something on social media, you could write something, you could, just share with your friends. Like you could start a STEM club if there isn't a club at your institution, or a group of like-minded individuals who might be interested in STEM, and just come together and chat with each other. And I think if the platform doesn't exist, you're going to have to find someone who will advocate for you to help you get that platform, right? I'm probably going to ask John to comment on this, because he really created that platform of a STEM club at Polk State recently, like within the past couple years, and filled a gap that was really needed. There was no place for students to come together and build that camaraderie. But I would say, one, you can share your story in any way that you would like personally, and then advocate to get a larger platform. Find the people at your institution that would be willing to help you with a club or help you do a workshop, etc. So John, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, pretty much Cassie has summed it up all, but just like she said, just find your niche, what you want to do, right? Where you want to share your story. You could start with your friends and just try and get a platform. Just like I suggested earlier, get a web page on your college campus where you can share. Just tell them that, go to your student activities board and tell them, I just want to create a platform for STEM students that would share their stories and post different things that they go through, right? The challenges. And then you try and invite one or two faculty, because the funny thing is faculty wants to connect with students, but students think that faculty don't want to connect with them. But we really want to connect with you guys, because we want to get into your minds to know why you don't do your assignments, why you don't do this, why, and you're also wondering why we give you F's or D's, right? So it's a two-way street there. So just share that platform so that people will be able to post things on there, and you realize that it becomes like a blog. You could start a blog of challenges that you're facing. You could just build something, but it's important if you have a place that you belong. Create a space for yourself that you're comfortable to share. You're comfortable to be vulnerable. You're comfortable, and it's not only you, but all your other peers. They can share and let their guard down and let themselves loose, and you be successful. Okay, you're the future.
Cassie, can I add something? I just want to share with everybody that participated in the numbers game. You shared your story. It was 3 things. You said something about you. That was part of your story. So it could be just as simple as that. Don't overthink it. It could be used to inspire, to uplift others, and help people to go maybe where you've been without having to endure the struggle. So yeah, so everyone on this call, I think, share a little bit about who they were through those numbers game, through the numbers game.
Yeah. So thank you so much for all of your questions and your participation. I know that the SACNAS team would like to leave some time for you to have a break before the closing address, which starts in 15 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Just want to say thank you so much again. I know we had the slide up, but I'll go ahead and quickly put my email address in the chat in case any students want to connect with any of the other speakers that were on today, or if you have any other questions, you are more than welcome to contact me. And I'll just do that. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much.